welcome back to Digiburst, guys. As you're probably aware, because it's been the talk of the last 2 weeks, Digifest, which is going to be this month, will be playing by different rules, or modified rules, as we usually do in our usual games. This will include a mulligan, where you can put the top 5 cards of your hand to the bottom of the deck to draw a fresh new 5 cards, as well as a side deck that can include any 10 cards from the game, so long as they aren't repeat cards that are already in your deck. That's more than 4, if that makes sense. Today, we will be going through a very specific strategy in side decking that has been used with some success in different card games. That being smokescreening, particularly in Yu-Gi-Oh!, and how that strategy can be utilized in the Digimon TCG when we get side decking in this event and potentially in our future main card game. Let's hit it. So if you're not taking these new side deck rules seriously, let me show you a little bit of evidence that will pretty much cement how side decking is pretty much guaranteed going into the future of the main card game, or perhaps in side events of the Digimon TCG. So here we have Tamer Set 4. This will be released sometime this month. Pre-orders are open right now. So you can see this comes with a set of mats and sleeves. Now if you want to have a look at how many sleeves you'll get in a pack, you will get 60 sleeves. This is very significant, as previously in these packs, such as in the Digimon Grand Prix and Pilgrimon set, it comes with a mat, of course, and a sleeve pack of 50 cards. That's really, really big. The fact that they're bringing up the sleeve count in official product from 50 to 60 means that those 10 sleeves that are typically used for just the main deck will then be used in the side deck as well. So if the Bandai official product is taking side decking seriously in this way, you need to be doing the same thing, because maybe in just a couple of weeks, a couple of months time after Digifest, if feedback is good about side decking mulligans, we might just see those features be put into the main game. So take this seriously, otherwise you'll be caught off guard. Now what is this smoke shooting strategy that I'm talking about? Well, this is a strategy that has been used in other card games, in both Yu-Gi-Oh!, Pokemon. Well, I'm actually not too sure about Pokemon and Magic, because I don't really have personal experience in those card games, but I used to play Yu-Gi-Oh! Before I came to Digimon, and smoke screening was a strategy that was used occasionally and did see some success. So smoke screening is essentially when you're going to game 2 or 3, you have a look at your side deck, and your side deck will contain a really large number of cards that are focused on being put in the deck together and subtracting a large amount of cards from the main deck to substitute for this strategy. So what you would do is you would take, for example, 12 cards, which would complete a kind of engine or strategy to substitute your regular strategy from your main deck and just switch them up. In this way, you may be playing a completely different deck with a completely different strategy or win condition than your main deck that you were playing in game 1. This would completely throw off your opponent and catch them off guard, for they might be siding in cards specifically to counter your main deck strategy, and then suddenly those counter cards don't counter the deck anymore, because you will be playing a completely different deck. Let me show you how it worked in Yu-Gi-Oh! So this is Patrick Hoban's top 32 placing Infernity deck list that he got top 32 in 2013 in Meadowland, New Jersey YCS in 2013. This is in the main deck. This is a very standard Infernity lineup, where you have your typical main lineup of Infinities and their support cards and standard control strategies here. Now, in the side deck, Patrick Hoban was a very skilled player, of course, a very renowned name in the Yu-Gi-Oh! Scene, so you know he's already a good player. He would very typically take the first game. And then in game 2, where Infernity had a lot of counter cards that people would play in the side deck to bring out to counter Infernity strategies, he would actually switch it up and play a kind of stun variant, where he would bring in this card, Infernity Randomizer, which focuses on burning your opponent if you draw a monster through its effect. So in this way, he would be burning his opponent through that effect, and then protecting it through cards like Imperial Prison and Offerings to the Doomed, as well as other main deck cards like the Mirror Full Solemn Judgment, or etc. And to complement the strategy, of course, you have the main deck Infernities. This being Infernity card, of course, helps it a lot with synergy from the Necromancer, Archfiend, and Launcher, as well as protection cards in the Barrier and the Break. So by switching up the main strategy from being a typical Infernity list to Infernity being supported by a burn strategy and stun cards and protecting cards to protect the burn strategy, Patrick Hoban was able to throw off the opponent's strategy, as well as including cards like MST to remove floodgates that are typically brought in against Infernity decks. So he saw quite a bit of success with that strategy there. A second strategy used in Smokescreening came up in this burn style deck that took that came top 8 in the 2014 YCS in Berlin. So this is a very standard burn strategy for that time period. So in that time, burn was a very good deck for game 1. Game 2, unfortunately, your opponent had a lot of opportunities and cards to bring in counter strategies to completely throw off a typical burn strategy. So while he would have a very easy time taking game 1 because typical decks didn't have the kind of cards to counter burn decks in the main deck, game 2 and 3 he would actually have quite a bit of difficulty. Which is why he was actually siding in an entire Insectoid list to be supplemented into his main deck and swapping out all these burn cards. So burn cards such as Just Desserts, Chain Strikes, Accumulated Fortunes because you wouldn't be getting so many Chain Links, Secret Barrels, they would all be brought out for this main deck engine. And you're essentially taking all 15 of these cards and swapping out your 15 burn cards out of here. This would completely throw off the opponent as they would typically side against the burn strategy, putting in a bunch of anti-burn cards, and then be like, wait, where did all these Insectoid cards come from? What kind of game is this? And typically he would take both games. He would take game 1 and 2, which gave him a very satisfying top 8 finish in that YCS. And YCSs typically have up to 1,000 players sometimes. So now you know what smoke screening is in Yu-Gi-Oh! How can we use this kind of strategy in Digimon? Well, let me show you. So this here is my current deck list for BT7. It is a yellow-purple hybrid with yellow in the rookies and of course purples going up into my Megas and Susanomon, of course. This combos really well with my Swaza, which can remove a large amount of bodies, and of course the purple nursery here is supporting the purple use of the Swaza, as well as all these tamers facilitating the effect to delete a bunch of different Digimon. And of course a bunch of different hybrids goes really well with that. This is a very standard list, really good for recovering, going for the long game, bringing up your security, getting free effects out of security, and then just accumulating enough tamers to beat through your opponent's security over a longer late game stage. So in this way you can take game 1. This is a very standard tier 1 deck, and if you're able to take game 1, in game 2, smoke screening, we will be going into a side deck of 3 Magnadramon, 4 Izzy Joe, and then 3 Ultimate Flare. This is essentially the backbone of security control. So here we'll be smoke screening from yellow-purple hybrid into security control. And then substitute this strategy will be taking out 3 of the Dynasmon, 2 of the Shine Greymon, these 2 megas here, of course don't line up as well with the security control strategy, considering you will just be hard playing dudes and playing removal. The TK Kari, your main strategy will be to have more security than the opponent, so the effect to gain 2 memory is pretty much never going to go off. And 2 of the Susanomon, because you will be removing your main line of megas, so evolving into Susanomon is less likely, although it can come up with the effect to evolve over a tamer. So that is essentially 2, 4, 7, 9, and then we'd essentially pick out one of the TK to complete the 10 substituting for the side deck. And then you'd be putting in the Magnadramon, really good for getting more security out and keeping your security high. For Izzy and Joe, this is really good for free memory, as well as turning your black cards online. And then 3 of the Ultimate Flare, which is really important as removal. For alternative removal that isn't just deleting effects, for Digivolving, this is particularly important against Jesmon. And then it can also just wipe the board off rookies. Again, Jesmon. Now this side deck is very tight. You are missing a lot of backbone security control cards, like the Palmon to gain back security when it's deleted, and other on-play cards from security like the Omnion Zort Defeat, Cordramon, and the Geo Greys. But of course you only have so many cards, you only have so many slots in your side deck for side deck cards. So this is essentially the best you can do. This isn't the only side decking smokescreen strategy you can put in. There are plenty of other ways. For example, you can play a green deck with hybrids going into at the top, and then completely swap them out for say a Bacho Stingmon to hit your opponent's decks that go really, really high and don't kill you on that turn. And then potentially switch from a hybrid strategy in green into a Digibursting strategy, one that focuses on your opponent, one that focuses on controlling the board through suspending effects so you can run them over. Those kind of smokescreen strategies are really easy to implement as long as you're very, very tight on your side decking. This doesn't leave much room for flexibility, considering you only got 10 slots. For example, if you're going into another security control matchup, you won't have access to other side deck staples such as Delicate Plan. If you're going up against a Rookie Rest strategy, you won't have access to Mechanorimon, for example, a very simple strategy very simple side deck card to put into your deck. Things like that. So that's one of the downsides of smoke screening. You're essentially giving up your counterplay cards for a completely new strategy that you're betting all your hope on will throw off your opponent, and you'll be able to take both games like that. And that is smoke screening. I hope you really enjoyed this kind of theory discussion video that I'm pretty much attempting for the first time. If you did, please let me know. I'm hoping to do more of these theory discussions in the future. And yeah, let me know of any smokescreen strategies that you'll be utilizing in BT7. And with that, I'll see you next time.